Papua New Guinea has had a tumultuous year and only recently emerged from a constitutional tussle where two leaders both claimed to be Prime Minister. Peter O'Neill emerged the victor, promising a new beginning for his nation. Now he's in Canberra to talk aid and promote PNG as an investment destination. Prime Minister, very good to be talking to you.
Thank you very much, Jim.
Now, in the last day or so, you have changed some of the rules, if I can put it that way. The period of grace for a government before a no-confidence motion can be moved has been extended from 18 to 30 months. To an outsider, that might seem a bit anti-democratic. Why was it necessary, and why is it not simply there to ensure you maintain your grip on power?
Well, basically, history in our country is that governments have been continuously changing, creating a very unstable political environment, giving rise to an unstable economic and social environment. So we have simply allowed ourselves to make sure that a government that has been elected by the people is given a good opportunity to implement their policies and programs that they have committed to the nation. And 18 months simply cannot be expected of any government to deliver on those programs. 18 months only gives a one budget cycle. So we are simply giving government stability for 2.5 years in a 5-year term of Parliament. And I believe that this will give confidence to the investors, it will give confidence to the community and the people and the country as a whole.
You've had a very big week. You've also just passed your first budget for this term of office. The focus is on rebuilding Papua New Guinea's infrastructure. What are the priorities? What do you need? What are the first things that should be done?
Well, generally, if you look throughout the country, there has been a huge neglect of all major key infrastructures in the country. So, it's a huge challenge for any government. So we are focusing on key infrastructures that is of national significance that will continue to grow the economy of our country, like the Highlands Highway, like the Lae Airport that we are redeveloping. We are redeveloping the Port Moresby Airport. In the hospitals and the education systems, we are investing more money in universities and investing more money in healthcare facilities throughout the country. So the government is focusing on uplifting some of those key important infrastructures that will serve the majority of the people as we move forward.
I'm wondering this though, Papua New Guinea has not been without revenue, particularly from mining and resources over the years. Why is it only now? Why has the infrastructure been allowed to suffer? Why is it now that this needs to be done? When you've had all this money coming in, why hasn't the priority been there to maintain what you already had?
Quite simply, we have mismanaged the opportunities that were before us. That is an indication of these infrastructures in dire need of repair and upgrading, because we've simply mismanaged.
Well, I suppose I'm asking this: what guarantees can you give that now history will not repeat itself? That if money is made available, that if you do nominate these priorities, that they will actually be delivered for the first time?
Well, because we are now establishing the accountability process of those funds, we're improving audits and inspection for the first time in many, many years. We are upgrading those divisions of our financial structure of our country. And at the same time, we're putting these anti-corruption measures, including the Independent Commission Against Corruption. Funds have been made available to some of these projects in the past, but it has not seen the light of day by implementation in making sure that these funds go to its destination. So our government's task now, with the confidence that our people have given through us through the ballot box, we are determined to making a real difference. And it is a generational change in the way of thinking in Papua New Guinea.
You're in Canberra to speak, among other people, to Prime Minister Julia Gillard. You've been somewhat critical, I've got to say, of the emphases of Australian development assistance. You would like more money directed to these big infrastructure projects. How confident are you that Prime Minister Gillard will see things your way?
I think our discussions in the past have been genuine and frank. We see that the Australian taxpayer is also wanting some accountability in the AUSAID program in Papua New Guinea, and they want to see visibility in the projects that they have done through these funds. So we are talking to the Australian government that we become partners in some of these major infrastructure programs that we are embarking on. So people of Australian taxpayers and also Papua New Guineans can see the government's spending the money on projects that is visible. We're spreading the development program too thinly. And although the program is very much appreciated, the effect of it is not been felt by the population of Papua New Guinea, and I'm very certain that the Australian public are interested in.
The priorities that you have for the emphasis of development assistance does seem to be more akin to what China does in the Pacific than what Australia has done traditionally. China is much more powerful than it was 10 years ago. It is interested in demonstrating its influence within the Pacific. Is there a message in what you are saying here that Australia needs to look at the way in which it's doing things, otherwise Papua New Guinea may turn increasingly to Beijing?
Papua New Guinea's relationship with China is quite simply trade and investment. Most of the projects that Australian government does through the aid program is very much on health and education, whereas the Chinese government is investing through loans to Papua New Guinea. It's not an aid money that has been given to establish programs in education and health. China doesn't invest in education. China doesn't invest in health programs in our country. They invest in infrastructure through a loan scheme, which we need to build the infrastructure. So the terms under which that they are offering to us are very favorable. Some of them are very concessional. So I see these two programs as two separate programs. But I'm also trying to encourage the Chinese to engage in more
You'd like
aid.
more? You'd like a lot more?
Not necessarily in terms of loans. We will borrow the as and when we require.
Foreign direct investment?
More foreign direct investment in the country, but at the same time, as partners in some of the development we are doing, in terms of resource development, we would like to encourage partnership rather than them investing directly and taking full ownership of those programs and projects themselves.
One final subject, almost inevitable when you're in Canberra, asylum seekers. The program of which the reopening of the processing centre on Manus Island is part is designed by the Australian government to be very much a deterrent. The Australian government is saying that they will give no guarantees about how long people who fetch up on Manus Island will be there. You say they should be processed as speedily as possible. When you say that, are you talking months or years?
I think one has to assess this in a reasonable manner. What is practical? And we understand the logistical difficulties the Australian government faces, especially putting people in a very remote area, and processing of those people will take some time. We understand that. But where there is children and where there is elderly people, they need to be processed, and if they are not processed to enter Australia, then they must be repatriated to their country of origin. And I'm very certain that the Australian government will do it in a timely manner.
So, on humanitarian grounds alone, does that mean, as far as you're concerned, it's really a matter of months? Would you be concerned if it went into years, put it that way?
I would be very concerned if it went to years, but I want to say that I'm very confident that the Australian government will do the right thing. Every year we have an annual ministerial committee meeting. We will review this every year, and we will highlight to the Australians if there are concerns that we need to discuss.
We better leave it there. Prime Minister, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, and thank you for meeting you today.